Welcome to Tattletale. Here's today's story. I loved her for 9 years, but I was never meant to stay. It started in the least romantic place possible, a coffee shop drive-thru, my windshield streaked with rain, and my Spotify playlist stuck on shuffle. I was 22. She was 19. Her name was Elena, and she was the barista at my favorite coffee shop, the one I visited every morning before my miserable office job. I didn't believe in love at first sight, but I did believe in timing. And that day, time slowed down when I saw her smile. She handed me my cup, paused, and said, "You always get black coffee with 2 sugars. Ever try it with a splash of cream?" I don't remember what I said back. Probably something awkward. But I remember thinking about her the whole day. The next morning, I came back. And the next. And then one day, I asked if she wanted to grab coffee somewhere that didn't involve a drive-through window. That was the beginning. We dated for 9 years. Through college. Through her parents' divorce. Through my failed startup. Through one brief breakup. Through every season, every fight, every road trip. Every Christmas morning where we promised, next year, we'll do this in our own house. I thought I would marry her. I was wrong. We moved in together 2 years after we met. It was a tiny place over a used bookstore with paper-thin walls and a leaky bathroom faucet that drove us both crazy. But it was ours. We painted the living room a warm gray, bought secondhand furniture, and strung fairy lights around the kitchen even though the landlord said we couldn't. It became home. Elena was studying to be a therapist. She loved helping people, even if it exhausted her. I was bouncing between freelance gigs, trying to make my graphic design career work. Money was tight. Arguments came and went, about dishes, about time, about whether we were growing fast enough, moving far enough. But she always left notes in my sketchbook. Silly drawings or scribbled reminders that said, "You've got this." We built routines. Sunday mornings were for pancakes. Thursday nights were for takeout and documentaries. Every year, we marked the anniversary of the first day we met, not with grand gestures, but with coffee. Black, 2 sugars, splash of cream. We were happy. At least, I thought we were. But happiness is quiet. So is the beginning of distance. I noticed the first crack in year 6. She started staying late at her internship. Texts became shorter. Her smile, a little more tired. When I asked if everything was okay, she said, "Just tired." So I didn't push. I should have. It wasn't sudden. That's the thing people get wrong about falling apart. It doesn't crash down in one night. It crumbles, slowly. Like old paint peeling from a wall you swore you'd repaint years ago. Elena started sleeping in later. Our Sunday pancakes became Sunday silences. We'd sit next to each other, scrolling on our phones, each in our own quiet world. She started forgetting things, our coffee orders, our favorite shows, our inside jokes. And every time I brought it up, she just smiled and said, "Sorry, my head's full." I didn't know how to say, "You're slipping away." By year 7, we stopped holding hands. Then came the night we didn't kiss before bed. I remember it clearly because I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if I should have turned over, reached for her, pulled her close. But I didn't. In the morning, she left early. No note. No coffee. I thought it was a fluke. Maybe she was in a rush. It happened again the next day, and the next. Then she came home late, her makeup still on, smelling faintly like someone else's cologne. I asked where she'd been. "Out," she said. "With friends." I didn't ask who. I didn't want to know the answer. I started working late. Not because I had to, but because it hurt less than going home to a silence that used to feel like love. When we talked, it was surface level. "Did you eat?" "Yeah." "How was your day?" "Fine." We used to talk about everything. Her dreams, my fears, what kind of dog we'd adopt one day. Now we barely talked about the weather. Then one night, she didn't come home. No text. No call. I stayed up until 3 a.m., pacing our tiny apartment, checking my phone like some unspoken signal might show up. She walked in at 3:27 a.m., heels in hand, eyes tired, and said, "I didn't mean to worry you." That was it. No explanation. No apology. I didn't ask where she'd been, because I already knew. I knew, because she'd stopped looking at me like I was hers. Because when I said, "I love you," the next morning, she said nothing. Just walked past me, poured coffee, and stared out the window like she was trying to find a way out. And that's when I knew she already had. The week after she came home late, we existed like strangers trapped in a story that had already ended. She moved through the apartment like a ghost. Her things slowly migrated into corners. Drawers emptied. The closet thinned out. One day, the framed photo from our trip to the coast disappeared from the wall. Then came the night we both broke. We were sitting in the living room, her scrolling through her phone, me pretending to work on a design project I hadn't touched in weeks. I said quietly, "Are we okay?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "I don't know." I swallowed. "Do you still love me?" Silence. "Elena, I don't know," she said again. "Maybe I do, just not the same way." That answer hurt more than a no. She turned to me, and for the first time in months, she looked straight into my eyes. "I didn't cheat," she said, "but I thought about it." The honesty cut deeper than any betrayal could have, because it meant she'd been living in the same sadness I had, but without the courage to face it. "I didn't want to be the bad guy," she whispered. "You're not," I replied. "We just stopped being us." We didn't cry. We didn't fight. We just sat there, side by side on a couch that had seen us through everything, letting the silence close in around us again. It happened on a Sunday. The air smelled like burnt toast and old rain. I woke up to the sound of drawers opening and closing, the soft rustling of movement that wasn't mine. I walked into the living room and found her zipping up a suitcase. "Elena." She turned slowly. Her eyes were already puffy. She'd been crying, maybe for hours. "I'm going to stay with my sister for a while," she said. "For a while?" I asked, even though I knew. She gave me a tired smile. "I think we both know this was supposed to end a long time ago." I sat on the edge of the couch, the same spot where we'd shared so many quiet mornings, and stared at the place where her plants used to be. "I still love you," I whispered. "I still care about you," she said. "But sometimes love isn't enough." She bent down, picked up a folded sweatshirt from the floor, and clutched it like it meant something. "I'm sorry, James." I didn't stop her. I didn't chase her. The door closed behind her like a punctuation mark. I sat in silence for hours, and when I finally stood up, the apartment felt 10 sizes too big. Her scent still lingered in the blankets. And somewhere on the kitchen counter was a coffee mug, black, 2 sugars, a splash of cream. Untouched. The days that followed were unbearable in their quietness. I kept telling myself I'd text her, ask if she was okay. But every time I picked up the phone, I froze. What could I possibly say that hadn't already been left unsaid? I returned her books to the shelf, one by one, cleaned out the fridge, found a hair tie on the bathroom sink, and held it like it might explain something. The nights were the hardest. Our bed was too big, too cold, too unfamiliar without the sound of her breathing. I'd roll over instinctively and be met with nothing but absence. A week later, a letter arrived. It wasn't long. Just a handwritten note on the back of a photo we'd taken in Oregon, our last real vacation before things unraveled. "I'll always love who we were," it read. "But I have to go find who I am." No signature, just the photo. Us, standing on a cliffside, wind in our hair, arms wrapped around each other like we were unshakable. I stared at that picture for hours. Eventually, I framed it. Not because I wanted to remember the pain, but because I wanted to remember that love, no matter how long it lasted, was real. Elena wasn't a villain. I wasn't a hero. We were just 2 people who tried. And sometimes, trying isn't enough. But I'll always be grateful for the mornings we spent tangled in sheets, for the nights we laughed over burned pasta, for the soft, fragile hope that we might last forever. Because for a while we did. And that's enough.